Now, KwaZulu-Natal has become the hub of killings in the country. Broad daylight assassinations have become the norm, with alleged drug lords battling for turf and control. But where are the police in all of this? Dasen Thathiah has been speaking to some affected residents.
There's a worrying state of affairs in Durban and KwaZulu-Natal at the moment, and it's leaving many residents feeling anxious. Violent crime is spilling onto the streets. We've been seeing drug wars and taxi-related violence happening in broad daylight. And many of these shootings taking place in very public areas and in some cases close to where businesses are situated. I want to bring in now Imtiaz Syed, who's the chairperson of eThekwini Secure. Imtiaz, thank you for joining me. I'm sure you'll agree that what we're seeing is an increase in violent crime in these public spaces. Let's start with trying to understand why this is.
Absolutely, Dasen. I think what we need to really do is compartmentalize the type of violent crimes that are happening. It would be incorrect for us to put them all in the same package and say they're all related. They're not. I mean, we've got drug-related crimes, we've got taxi-related crimes, and then we've got basic crimes that have been happening all over time. So with that being said, let's just look at one particular issue, the drug-related issues that are currently happening in our city. And why is that happening currently, you know? I mean, we haven't seen something like this happen 5 or 6 years ago. Why is it happening now? When did it start? How long ago did it start? And if we remember quite correctly, these types of shootings hadn't just started in the last 5 or 6 days. We've been having this sorts of things round about for the past 3 or 4 years, starting out in the Sydenham area, drug dealers getting shot here and there in the different localities and areas. But what brings it to light, what brings it now so much closer to us, is the duration by which all of these drug dealers are being shot and the time frame between those shootings that brings a focus to it.
And also the location, because it's moving out of their particular areas into so-called common areas where you would think that this drug trade is not occurring.
Absolutely. So, you know, the thing about it is previously you'd find shootings in and around the drug dens or drive-by shootings in that area, and it was in that localized area. But now we're seeing it's becoming more and more brazen, where even if you're out with your family or friends, and you've seen the one that happened in Peters Road, where it was an entire family. Yes, okay, known drug dealer and all of that. But what is the risk that's there for the rest of the community by far and large, and what happens there? But whilst we focus on the issue of drugs, let us also focus on all the victims of drug abuse and all of those things that happen in communities, which goes unsaid. Their lives lost every single day to drugs. Not condoning the fact that drug dealers do exist, and they do exist, but why do we concentrate solely on when they are being murdered or when they are being shot? And why are we not concentrating as society as to the everyday issues that mums and dads face in community by far and large, with their children being victims of these drug dealers and things like that?
And this, while we are compartmentalizing these issues, there is that overarching theme that it has created a concern for us to literally even be standing here right now having this conversation on the street.
Absolutely.
So as citizens, what then needs to be done? What precautions can be taken to ensure that you live safely and we don't end up just hiding out at our homes?
I think for us, as eThekwini Secure and our membership, we're quite clear in saying that fear has settled into communities, especially around drug-related issues. Because what we need to remember is that drug dealers are very few in their number in society. But the notorious nature of their character speaks to instilling fear in communities in which they operate. And sometimes we find that communities, by far and large, protect drug dealers because of handouts and things that they get from these drug dealers, right? Now, what we're saying is that society, by far and large, are good in nature. And that society needs to start standing up against drug dealing in their areas, because it's their very children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews that are affected by these things, and it's time for them to come forward. But where's the gap? Where is that gap? Because we found that community members that want to report these sorts of things cannot go to their local police station of the fear of intimidation or them being exposed as the people that are speaking about these drug dealers. And this is something that SAPS needs to look at seriously. There either needs to be a provincial hotline or something like that where communities can go directly and say, this is what's happening in our area. And we can't be naive to believe that the police don't know where drug dens are. These things are reported all the time. You know where the drug dealers are. You know where the drug dens are. Where is the gap then because policemen become despondent. They go and arrest a drug dealer. He goes to the courts. The court system fails the police and the community by far and large, and that drug dealer is out on the street the very next day. What are we really doing? It's just an endless, vicious cycle of resources being put into something that can't really solve the problem. And now it's come around where policemen actually say that you can't get rid of drugs, we've got to manage it. What are we saying? What are we saying to society? That we've normalized drug dealing in our areas and police can't really deal with it and we should manage it? What is that?
And that speaks to the lawlessness that we were talking about. Absolutely. Because it seems like we are normalizing certain things. We've now associated, for example, as we've previously associated in many instances drugs and Cape Town and KwaZulu-Natal and violent crime, it seems like now KwaZulu-Natal is getting a few more associations.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, right now you don't hear about gang shootings in Cape Town, you hear it happening in KZN, and it's becoming more and more well known that there are gang-related activities happening in and around Durban, especially eThekwini, but it goes as far as out as Hillcrest and Potchefstroom and all of these places. And it's becoming more and more serious in its nature of how it operates. It's no longer undercover and under behind closed doors. These things are becoming more and more well known. And drug dealers I have no fear of the law anymore. They come out live and they're doing things on social media and they are known to be drug dealers and they like that attitude. So let's speak about why are these shootings happening. Are they happening because of turf rivalry and all of these things? Or is it just because of power? To say I have the guts to do something and I'm bigger than you. Is that what's going on in our drug world and is that what's happening really? You know, so it's something that needs to be discussed properly and something that needs to be understood. But communities need to come out and do their part. And yes, we say this all the time, I know that. But reporting these things need to have their channels of reporting, and that's very important from the side of SAPS.
Thank you for your time. Imtiaz Syed there from eThekwini Secure, and a call there for communities to play a more active role. Some of these communities have also been calling on police to work harder in rooting out these criminals. The police have responded by saying that they in fact are also actively pursuing these suspects. Just this past weekend, 5 suspects related to drug activities and a recent murder were shot dead by officers. I'm Dasen Thathiah in Durban.